If you are watching this video, it is for one of a couple of reasons. The first reason is either that you did not complete the ERQ that was assigned to you during seminar this week, or the other reason might be because you did not score proficient or distinguished on that ERQ. Either way, you are going to be rewriting your response today, and you should have a copy of the paper that you see on the screen in front of you at your desk. You're also going to need a pencil. If you are in here because you did not score proficient or distinguished, I went through and gave each student feedback on your ERQ that was assigned through our seminar Google Classroom earlier this week. So if you want to know why you got the score that you did, I would encourage you to take a second and go and look back at that. With that being said, we are going to jump in and get started today. The paper tells us that we're going to watch this video and then complete the rewrite using the pages that are provided to you. Since we did have a passage that went along with this ERQ, we're going to start by reading the passage together, and my expectation is that you are following along on your copy of the page as I read to you. How Jackie Robinson Changed Baseball. Today, when you turn the TV to Major League Baseball, you will not be surprised at all to see an African American or Latino player take the mound. Maybe your favorite player is a person of color, but baseball has not always been as diverse as it is now. In 1947, Jackie Roosevelt Robinson became the first African American to play on a Major League Baseball team. The road he paved was an important but difficult one. Early athletic success. Robinson was born in Georgia on January 31st, 1919, the youngest of 5 children. His father left the family just a year later, and his mother moved her children to Pasadena, California. She worked odd jobs to support her family, but Robinson still grew up in relative poverty. When Jackie enrolled in high school, his siblings encouraged him to get involved in school sports teams. He excelled in football, basketball, track, and baseball. He broke many school sports records. Robinson continued to play all of these sports in junior college. Ironically, he viewed baseball as his weakest sport. He transferred to UCLA to complete his degree, where he became the first athlete to letter in all 4 of those sports. UCLA had some of the most racially integrated college sports teams at the time, but Robinson was still among a very small minority of non-white athletes on all of his teams. Fighting racism. Even early in his life, Robinson confronted racism head-on. In 1938, while still at junior college, he was arrested after disputing the police detention of one of his black friends. He managed to escape a long jail sentence, but this and other run-ins with the police earned him a reputation as someone who was both eager and willing to stand up against racial oppression. When the U.S. entered World War II, Robinson enlisted in the Army. He never saw direct combat, but his military career was marred by racial problems. While stationed in Texas, Robinson boarded a non-segregated bus, but he was instructed to sit in the back anyway. He refused, and military police took him into custody for his insubordination. Fortunately, 1 month later, an all-white jury acquitted him, but the situation was an early indication of the racial prejudice he'd come to face later in life. A player with guts. Robinson joined the professional Negro Leagues to play baseball in early 1945. He signed with the Kansas City Monarchs and had great success, but he was frustrated by all of the disorganization that plagued this league. At the time, a few major league teams were recruiting from the Negro Leagues, and Robinson struck up a relationship with the general manager of the Brooklyn Dodgers, Branch Rickey. Rickey liked the potential he saw in Robinson, but he had one question. He knew Robinson would face racial discrimination and injustice if he joined the major leagues. Could he be a player with enough guts not to fight back? Robinson promised that he could and signed a contract with the Montreal Royals, the Dodgers' top minor league team. After just 1 season, he transferred to the Brooklyn Dodgers. As he stepped onto the field as first baseman in 1947, Jackie Robinson became the first Major League Baseball player to break the color barrier since 1880. He was 28 years old. African American fans flooded to Dodger games, and even the general public and the press had a mostly positive view of the team's newest addition. However, Robinson faced discrimination from a few of his team members who threatened to sit out of games if he was allowed to play. Management took Robinson's side. "I say he plays," said the manager. "I say he can make us all rich, and if any of you cannot use the money, I will see that you are all traded." Other teams also disliked Robinson's admittance into the league. Many threatened not to play against him. Most managers rejected these threats and forced the players to participate anyway. Instead, they took it out on Robinson directly during the games. Some players were physically violent. He once received a 7-inch gash in his leg from an opponent who spiked him with his cleats, while others hurled verbal racial insults at him and his teammates. The racism from other teams only united the Dodgers, however, and the team grew more accepting of him. Major success. Robinson won Rookie of the Year in 1947. In later seasons, more African Americans joined other teams in the major leagues as Robinson continued to excel. His success gained him fans from all over the country. He started a second base for the National League in the 1949 All-Star Game, and he helped the Dodgers win the 1949 National League pennant. Over the next several years, his success grew, and by 1955, the Dodgers pulled out a win in the World Series. Robinson was 36 and starting to feel the effects of his age. In 1956, he did not dominate the league as much as he used to, partially because of the adverse effects of the diabetes he suffered from. When the Dodgers traded him to the New York Giants, Robinson decided to quit baseball altogether and become an executive for a coffee company instead. A legendary impact. After his retirement, Robinson remained a baseball legend. In 1962, he received baseball's highest honor when he was elected into the Hall of Fame. His playing style changed many team strategies. For example, he inspired players to be more aggressive in their base running, rather than relying only on the distance they could hit the ball. Robinson also made important racial breakthroughs in the sports world. The first baseball player to break the color barrier in 60 years, he paved the way for many future African American and minority athletes. His career helped the upcoming civil rights movement by giving Americans a heroic African American sports figure to rally around. All right, now that we have read through the passage again, we're going to take a look at the question that you were asked to respond to earlier this week. It is towards the back of your packet, and it is up at the top of the page where it says ERQ Rewrite. How did Jackie Robinson overcome many challenges to become an American hero? The key here that we need to focus on are the words many challenges. We have to think back to the text and we have to figure out what are the challenges, or what was the major challenge that Jackie Robinson faced so that later he could become an American hero. Based on what we read in the story, the biggest thing that Jackie Robinson had to overcome was the discrimination that he faced due to his skin color. Also, when you were given this original question on the slides that were posted on Google Classroom, you were specifically asked to use the ABE writing strategy. Remember, anytime you are given a short answer or an ERQ, that is the expectation. Just as a friendly reminder, ABE stands for answer because, E1, E2, E1, E2, and then we always end our ABEs with a concluding sentence. We're going to do the first part of this ABE together. I've actually done the work for you on the front side of your response sheet. And then when you get done watching this video and filling in the parts that I've written for you, you're going to turn your paper over to the back and you are going to do the back on your own. So I'm going to be giving you your answer, your because, your first E1 and your first E2, and then it's going to be your responsibility to come up with your second E1, your second E2, and your concluding sentence on your own. So, again, we've already decided that the major challenge that Jackie Robinson had to overcome was discrimination, or more specifically, racism. So, for our answer and our because, here is what I have. Jackie Robinson overcame challenges by standing up to racism and discrimination to achieve his dreams. I want to put something out here. I did use the word by instead of the word because. And the reason for that is just this word made a little bit more sense with the question that we were asked. And it is okay if you don't specifically have the word because with your answer, as long as you are giving enough detail to support your answer. So again, he overcame racism and discrimination to achieve his dreams. His dreams were to play Major League Baseball, which we found out in the story that he did. I felt like I needed a little more information here, so I added a second sentence by stating his courage led him to become an American hero. Because remember, part of the question was, how did he overcome those challenges to become a hero? So I wanted to make sure that I included American hero as part of my answer. When I get into my E1 and my E2 here in just a second, there are some things that I need to be thinking about. Specifically, I'm going to be looking for examples in the text of when he faced racism and discrimination in his life and how he showed courage as he dealt with that racism and discrimination. The passage that we read is really divided into two parts. It talks about Jackie's life before he became a Major League Baseball player, and it talks about Jackie's life after or during his time as a Major League Baseball player. So for my first E1, I chose a piece of evidence about his life before becoming a Major League Baseball player. Remember, E1 is evidence, and whenever we are citing evidence, we always want to start with a good sentence starter like the text says. We want to make sure we have opening quotation marks and closing quotation marks. And we want to make sure that whatever our evidence is, we cite it directly word for word from the text. So I didn't take this information and put it in my own words. I copied it directly as it was stated in the text. And just a reminder, I was looking for an example of when he faced racism or discrimination, and he showed courage when he faced that racism and discrimination. So my evidence says, in 1938, while still at junior college, he was arrested after disputing the police detention of one of his black friends. Again, this is an example of racism. It also shows that he was courageous, and we're going to talk about why when we get to our E2. Remember, E2 stands for explain. So our E1 was straight from the text. We put word for word what the text said. Our E2 is going to be in our own words, and we want to make sure that it is at least 2 sentences. A great way to start your E2 is with this sentence starter. This evidence shows, or you could put this evidence proves. Robinson faced racism. Remember, that was something we were focused on in our answer. Long before he became a famous baseball player. Again, this happened when he was in college, way before he became a player for the Dodgers. It also shows his courage. Remember, that was part of our answer at the top, courage. Because he was willing to stand up for what he believed was right, even though the consequences could have been very severe. When we're talking about consequences, we're talking about the fact that he could have been arrested for this, okay? So again, we are proving that this quote shows that Jackie Robinson faced racism and that it showed that he was courageous. In just a second, after you have all of this copied, you're going to flip your copy over to the back, and it's going to be up to you to come up with your second E1 and your second E2 and your concluding sentence on your own. Make sure you start with a good internal transition like furthermore or additionally, and that you find another piece of evidence from the text that talks about a time when Jackie Robinson faced racism or discrimination, and it also shows that he was courageous as he faced that. My advice would be to focus on his baseball career when you are looking for your second piece of evidence. Find an example of a time when he faced racism or discrimination as he played in the major leagues. For your E2, I am looking for at least 2 sentences written in your own words that explains how your evidence shows that Jackie Robinson was courageous in the face of discrimination. And then you're going to give me a concluding sentence that wraps up all of your thoughts. Once you have this back page written, you need to turn it in, and you are done with your remediation lesson for today.